Okay, just a quick one about your teacher, myself. I have been asked in the past to be a bit more detailed about who I am. I used to think it was not so interesting, but the fact of the matter is, it can be when we are about to work together. So, my name is Vincent, I live in Dublin, and teaching handstands is my job. I've been doing this for the last 9 years, at first in person, then in workshops, and now both in person and online. And I've been online for the last 5 years. The important part about what I teach and the way I do it is that I was never good at handstand. So I was never a genius who could walk on their hands from the moment they were born. For that matter, I learned skills quite slowly if I compare myself to my friends in the different endeavors I've tried in my past. But that's, I think, what allowed me to really see through handstands as well, nerd about it, and understand the level of intricacies there is to handstand. So in my 20s, I was doing capoeira, contemporary dance, and acrobatics in circus because I wanted to be able to do those flips. Part of the capoeira and the acrobatics training involves handstands. And they both usually, at least in my experience, revolve around quite bad ways of teaching it. So I was really frustrated with them back then because I was pretty much being told by the teacher, do it again and again and again against the wall, and eventually you will have it. It was worse than that. To some point, I got to think that I was responsible for not progressing. And I'm not just talking about myself, I could see other people experiencing the exact same. So unless you were one of the selected few for whom it clicked, the vast majority of the class was lagging behind because whatever technique was taught didn't work with them. In hindsight, I realized that at least part of the burden should have fallen on the teacher's shoulders. If I'm telling you one cue and you're giving it enough of a try and it's not working, it is my job to change the cue, to change the drill, to adapt to what you need and what your body is responding to. But of course, back then I didn't know that. So I've tried that for years. It was not my main gig, but I never got anywhere close to a freestanding, consistent handstand. And then I moved to Ireland. As you may still hear, I am French originally, and in Ireland there was nothing compared to the offer I used to experience in Paris. So I pretty much had to quit my hobbies, and I decided to dedicate myself fully to cracking the code of handstand. And so for a full year with a friend of mine, we trained almost daily, trying different routines and exercises and workshops, trying to understand the truth behind it all, trying to navigate as well a notion of seemingly contradicting advice. And after a year of trials and errors and frustration, I mean, I quit 3 times, so I know what frustration feels like when handstands. After a year of that, I finally got my freestanding 30-second consistent handstand. And after that, I went on to 60 seconds and more. And after that, as I was saying, everything becomes quite easy. You have your straddle, you have different shapes, you have the press. And since then, I fully dedicate myself to teaching this art to people just like you. And what we ended up finding out is that every handstand obeys the same biomechanical rules, but every individual is going to learn a certain shade of handstand first, and then derive the big picture out of that, and then be able to master all the other handstands out of that. So as a teacher, you can either force everyone into the mold that worked for you, which is pretty narrow-minded, and yell at them to keep going for it until it sticks, until it works, until it clicks. Or you can try to create a mold for each profile of people you end up working with. And my invitation for you through this course is to create the mold that works for you according to the biomechanical rules we will see together. To finish, let me rephrase that in very simple terms. In my experience, and I've seen probably thousands of students by now, if you obsess over the mold that is not yours, over an alignment you want to achieve, over the cues of somebody who means well, but who is not thinking about what you need and more so about what worked for them, you will spend much more time, I'm talking years instead of months, getting to where you want to get. And on the contrary, If you start thinking of your handstands through the right lens, which is what do I have to do to get to be able to freestand consistently and reliably, then you get to your standards much quicker. You have a handstand, you have your handstand, and from there we create any alignment we want. We work with your strengths and your weaknesses instead of ignoring them and treating you like a pro athlete. You have a certain level of mobility, you have a certain level of fear, you have a certain level of strength, you have certain stamina and endurance, you have a certain background, you have certain traumas. All of those can be factored in to design something that really pushes you forward and allows you to progress fast. That's what I truly believe in, and I hope this is what you will also embrace by the time we're done with this course.